guys, welcome back. Now today we're going to be discussing the New York Rangers and if they're the next NHL Dynasty. The New York Rangers are in year 2 of their rebuild right now, but the team is looking super promising. So when will NYR start contending again, and are they the NHL's next dynasty? Watch till the end to find out. Now the day was February 8th, 2018. The New York Rangers, who had a very disappointing season that season, right before the deadline, ended up announcing that they would go on a full-time rebuild. A year and a half later, they're in a much different spot, and quite frankly, a much better situation than they were before. The New York Rangers, ever since February 2018, have made all the right moves. They have committed to that rebuild 100% and haven't gone away from it. And again, in a market like New York, it's very hard to do that type of thing, to really commit to a rebuild and stay with it. But the New York Rangers did that. They traded away fan favorite players, but in return got prospects and picks, which right now is looking pretty good for them. But the complete turnaround of the New York Rangers is what is so fascinating to me. A team that 2 years ago when they announced that rebuild pretty much had no future whatsoever, prospect-wise, player-wise, whatever it might be. And in a year and a half, they completely did a 180 into probably a top 5 prospect pool and one of the best futures across the entire NHL. And rebuilds throughout the NHL usually take upwards of 2, maybe 3 years to complete if they're done right. But the New York Rangers in a year and a half completely turn around their franchise and aren't even in that rebuild anymore. Right now, in their eyes, they're looking to contend, and I think they can. Obviously, you got the acquisitions of Panarin, you got the acquisitions of Trouba, 2 fantastic players adding to that core, and New York, I don't think wants to contend for just a playoff spot. They want to contend for a Stanley Cup. And right now. The reasons they have those aspirations is how many young prospects and players they have right now. And it's not just young players that are plugs and just random players who are young, but they are elite talents that are both young and skillful. Obviously, the best one you have is Kaapo Kakko. He, in my opinion, is the best prospect in 2019. He might be the best prospect on the earth right now, and he could be a Calder candidate next season for New York at age 18, and that is seriously impressive for how young he might be. He also got some other amazing prospects, guys like Andre Miller, Vitaly Kravtsov, Nils Lundqvist, Igor Shesterkin, some fantastic prospects, also Elias Anderson, who hasn't panned out completely but is still good, Philip Hedl, who is also young. There is so much to go around in every single position that makes New York super scary for the now and in the future. If there was any doubt whatsoever before the New York Rangers being a top 5 prospect pool, there is no doubt whatsoever right now. What they have right now, both star talent and depth-wise, is very impressive. What they did back in the 2019 NHL draft, I was a pretty big fan of. They got some excellent guys at the top, obviously Kaapo Kakko, you got Matthew Robertson, but you also got some great depth pieces, guys like Levi Aaltonen and Carl Henriksson. I love what they've done in the draft the past couple of years, and it's starting to pan out for them especially. And both offensively, defensively, and goaltending, they're getting it done. And that's why the prospect pool for them and the youthful core they have is so scary and will be that. And will show that promise next season. Even though they did trade a lot of players to get those picks and prospects, they still have some excellent guys still left over. You got Mika Zibanejad, obviously, who's the first line center on that team right now. One of my favorite players in the entire league, and I think can be a second line / first line center for them if they do win a cup. You also got some decent talent still left over, guys like Chris Kreider too, and you obviously got the acquired talent this past season, guys like Jacob Trouba, and for relatively cheap too. Getting a guy like Jacob Trouba, a top 4 defenseman, and the best defenseman on that team, they got him for practically nothing. When it comes to that roster, and when it comes to those names, they don't really strike you as a cup contender quite yet. But that's exactly why the New York Rangers, who had cap space, opened up the money vaults in free agency. After 1.5 years, the New York Rangers knew they could contend, and they had an opportunity to do it. And that opportunity in free agency was Artemi Panarin. After a lot of speculation and a huge bidding war in free agency, the New York Rangers were the team to land Artemi Panarin and bring him to Manhattan. On a 7-year deal at $11.6 million, the New York Rangers got their guy, and they got the bread man to lead them to the promised land. And yes, obviously $11.6 million might be a little bit too much to pay Artemi Panarin. I still think he's a top 5 winger at least in the NHL and should get paid like it. For the New York Rangers, it also signifies where they're going. To get that skilled guy in free agency, the biggest free agent of the class, signifies how good their future is. And adding a guy like Artemi Panarin, one of the best NHL players in the league, on top of that amazing youthful core, it doesn't bode well for the 30 other NHL teams. goes. For the New York Rangers, they didn't add just one superstar winger to their team this past offseason, they added two. Getting Kaapo Kakko second overall is a gigantic steal for them. You guys know Kaapo Kakko is my favorite prospect in the draft, but I think he's the best prospect in the draft. It's not really too big of a difference between Jack Hughes and Kaapo Kakko, but it's a big enough one where I have Kaapo Kakko as the #1 guy. And for NYR, getting him in the second overall is absolutely fantastic for them. And again, Artemi Panarin might be the franchise face for them now, but Kaapo Kakko will be the franchise face for them now and in the later that they really haven't had since a guy like Wayne Gretzky. And again, I think he will be a Calder candidate next season. I could see him getting around 55, 60 points at least next season, especially if he's paired with guys like Mika Zibanejad. Right now, I'm just thinking of a Kakko, Zibanejad, Panarin line next season, and that gets me excited. And for the New York Rangers and their fans, it should definitely. When it comes to Kaapo Kakko, though, he'll be the impact guy right out of the draft the New York Rangers kind of need. They got some prospects in the past, guys like Vitaly Kravtsov, Elias Anderson in the first round, but they haven't been impact players immediately after the draft. But Kaapo Kakko can and will be that. We've seen him in the training camps so far. We've seen him already in the prospect camps. He's been decent so far, but I think when it comes to the NHL conversion, I think he'll have a very good one. Next season, I think he'll be much better than Jack Hughes, and I don't think it'll even be close. Guys like Kaapo Kakko, Artemi Panarin, and the amazing prospect pool that could be impactful next season, I think the New York Rangers will have a somewhat kind of season like Toronto did back in the 2016 season, where of course they were on that rebuild, and they had a lot of young prospects coming up, with guys like Austin Matthews, William Nylander, Mitch Marner, all coming up and getting big time in the NHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs resurged themselves and became one of the best teams in the entire NHL, and I think the New York Rangers will kind of have the same effect. I don't think the Toronto Maple Leafs had a guy like Artemi Panarin, so that also goes in the New York Rangers' advantage. But I think having guys like Kaapo Kakko that will play next season for you already is a huge advantage. The difference between Toronto in 2016 and the New York Rangers now is that Toronto basically took more than 3 years to complete that rebuild and finally get it off the books. And that was a fast rebuild. I don't think anybody expected Toronto to be that impactful, especially that early. But the New York Rangers now in a year and a half, and by the time it's next season, it will be 2 years, have almost a playoff team on their hands. And in the Metro Division, a division that's, I think, kind of weak right now, the New York Rangers could definitely step into a playoff spot. Whether it be a wild card spot, whether it be a division spot, I can definitely see the New York Rangers not just being competitive next season, but being a playoff team as soon as next season. For the New York Rangers, that progression is seriously key. To make it in the first round and possibly make it to the second round, I think is huge. Maybe giving Henrik Lundqvist that last run, I think is the ultimate goal for them. And for the New York Rangers to get past that second round, past that third round, I think it's definitely possible in the next couple of years, and especially making the Cup final and possibly winning a Cup with the core they have right now and the amazing youthful guys they have, I think it's definitely possible. Now, of course, the core they have right now hasn't made the playoffs yet, so saying they can win a cup or win multiple cups to be a dynasty, I think is a big, bold claim to make. But for the New York Rangers, the core they have right now, the amazing young players that they have, it'd be, honestly, to me, a shock if they didn't at least make a cup final with this core. And again, New York Rangers, I think people love to say they're a cursed franchise. They won the cup back in 1994. But I think for the New York Rangers, this is the best shot they've had in a long time. Back in 2014, they weren't really too competitive versus the LA Kings, and I think for the New York Rangers to get back to the promised land, this is the core that will do it. With guys like Kaapo Kakko, Artemi Panarin, you got some amazing filling out goaltending with Igor Shesterkin, some solid defense, guys like Adam Fox, Keandre Miller, Nils Lundqvist. They have such a good future right now, and it might not be done. They might be getting more guys in free agency next year, possibly through trade. They might not be done in this offseason either. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But for the New York Rangers to be a dynasty, I probably would say about 2 or 3 cups. 3 cups will be what you'll be preferring if you're a New York Rangers fan, but for the New York Rangers, the core they have right now, if they do become a dynasty, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, to be a dynasty in the NHL today, I think you have to have 3 cups in a 10-year span. We saw the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks both do it in the last 10 years, and it has been done. So for the New York Rangers, it's not an impossible feat that can never be done. We know it has happened before, but it'll be very hard to do so. With so many great teams and so many great futures and so many great teams already in the NHL, it's a very competitive league, and I don't see that happening for the New York Rangers. I don't see that 3-cup window and that 3-cup dynasty happening. I think they'll win a cup in their time, though. With Artemi Panarin, with Kaapo Kakko, with the core they have right now, I think they win at least 1 cup. And maybe in the next 10 years, whatever might happen. I think it will happen for the New York Rangers. And while a dynasty might not be the case, I think a cup will be won in Manhattan. For the New York Rangers, while they might not win 3 cups, I think they will win 1 with this core right now. Having Kaapo Kakko, having Artemi Panarin, I think they will get it done at least once. Obviously, the question of multiple, I don't know if they'll be able to get that done, but I think the New York Rangers, they'll get that cup for the first time since 1994. I think it will happen, and for the New York Rangers, if they can get that cup for King Henrik, I'd be pretty happy about that. But of course, with this video, I need to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know your thoughts on the New York Rangers. Let me know your thoughts on the rebuild they're having right now and the players they've acquired. And of course, the big question onto you. Do you think the New York Rangers can win a cup or become a dynasty? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video on Artemi Panarin signing with the New York Rangers and my complete thoughts on all of it. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on the New York Rangers and if you think they can become a dynasty. And I'll see you guys next video or stream. Goodbye.